Shalom, Kal Halal, Yahweh Bashem Yahweh Shai, Bahashem Makal Kodash. Double honor to the elder apostles and elder bishops of GMS, including the elders that came before them that taught us the truth. Shalom and salutations to all the brothers out pushing the word and truth and in sincerity, the hopeful elect, tabernacle of David, to the Akwaf that are listening and learning, being a pillar of rest, the 144,000, the 1/3, the hopeful elect of Israel. I'm the brother Yahshua. I'm back with the WW3 Daily Update. Shalom and salutations to you as well. And we're going to start right here. Just a quick update. Today should be Wars and Rumors of War Tuesday, but that's not where the Spirit is today, so that's where we're going to go, where the Spirit is. So, Joel 3 and 2 in the NLT reads, I will gather the armies of the world into the valley of Jehoshaphat, or Jehoshaphat, which is in the Middle East, which is in Israel proper, but the valley of Jehoshaphat is referring to the Middle East. There I will judge them for harming my people, my special possession, for scattering my people among the nations, and for dividing up my land. The point is right here. I will gather the armies of the world into the Middle East, okay, in the valley of Jehoshaphat. All right, so with that, let's take a look at the Durand. 2 hours ago, U.S. military fighting with militias in the valley of Jehoshaphat intensifies. Okay, so not only is fighting intensifying, they're sending more carrier groups, more troops, more what? Most High said he's gathering the armies of the world into the Middle East, or the valley of Jehoshaphat. Take it away, Alexander.
All right, Alexander, let's talk about the situation in the Middle East, and let's start things off talking about the escalation outside of the war in Israel and in Gaza, because we had another U.S. airstrike in Syria. This airstrike claimed to have targeted Iranian militia who were allegedly operating out of Syria, and hitting the U.S. base, the illegal U.S. base in Syria. So that was what the Pentagon said. But it seems like these exchanges, these skirmishes between the United States and these various forces, militias in Iraq and in Syria are becoming more commonplace, and I think that's a very, very bad sign, given all the rhetoric that we've heard from the Biden White House about if you hit any of our U.S. Resources, military bases, assets in the region, well then we're gonna inflict a heavy price on you. And they're speaking to Iran as they say these statements. So, what are your thoughts on the escalation that's happening outside of the war in Israel? And then we'll probably get back.
Slock on the commercial. We'll let this play for a little bit.
Probably get to the war in Israel as well.
Right, I think the first thing to say is that in geopolitical terms, in global terms, it's obviously the battle in Gaza that is getting the most attention, and it's understandable because we see the pictures every day. There's a humanitarian disaster there. This is a politically fraught subject. But I would actually suggest that, in fact, it's these battles that are raging off behind the curtain, if you like, between these militias and the United States, which are clearly intensifying, that actually is the more dangerous and the more worrying event. And you're absolutely correct. All the indications are that the fighting between these militias and the United States is intensifying. The US, as you rightly said, has just launched another big airstrike on what it claims is a militia base. There's now lots of pictures, if you really want to search for them, of rocket attacks and missile attacks on American bases in Syria, especially. You're absolutely correct to say that these bases should not be in Syria. They've not been authorized by the Security Council in New York, in the UN Security Council. They've not been agreed to by the Syrian government. No political agency that has sovereignty over Syria has authorized the presence of these bases. So these bases are illegally present in Syria, and they're now becoming a bone of contention. They're becoming sites of actual battles, and the United States is retaliating by launching airstrikes in Syria, which again are illegal. I mean, they're part of the United States is present illegally in Syria, and these airstrikes it's launching in Syria are therefore, by extension, illegal as well. The fighting, as you correctly say, is intensifying. And I saw a really troubling comment in one of Larry Johnson's pieces on Sonar 21, in which he said that somebody that he knows, who is, informed about these things, and here, by the way, I should say that I take this report very seriously. I am sure it is true. Anyway, he says that hospitals, military hospitals, US military hospitals, are quietly filling with US soldiers who have been wounded in this fighting, and that the fighting clearly is taking place at a much greater level of intensity.
That was news right there. Did you hear that? I'm going to back it up. Listen close, because, I mean, only news you're going to get is what they want you to hear. So you have to you got to go to a show like this, right? And then you got to have somebody scrutinize what's being said. How many Americans? And they're not telling us what's really going on over there, right? Well, the Most High is gathering the troops in the valley. People don't know it because it's, being obscured. Propaganda and control of the narrative are two big weapons of war, if you will.
In which he said that somebody that he knows, who is, informed about these things, and here, by the way, I should say that I take this report very seriously. I am sure it is true. Anyway, he says that hospitals, military hospitals, US military hospitals, are quietly filling with US soldiers who have been wounded in this fighting, and that the fighting clearly is taking place at a much greater level of intensity than the administration wants people to know.
That is huge, actually. Okay, so you would think that Hamas is over there fighting, right, against Israel. When, let me back this up and make sure what theater he's talking about. Okay, because actually it's all theaters. When you understand what's going on over there, you don't think that the Americans are over there fighting and racking up casualty counts? They are. He's just saying it right now. In every theater. But let me take it back just a little to get a little perspective. Let's see what he's saying.
Take this report very seriously.
Let me go back a little more. And then we'll end it right here.
The United States is present illegally in Syria.
Syria.
And these airstrikes it's launching in Syria are therefore, by extension, illegal as well. The fighting, as you correctly say, is intensifying. And I saw a really troubling comment in one of Larry Johnson's pieces on Sonar 21, in which he said that somebody that he knows, who is, informed about these things, and here, by the way, I should say that I take this report very seriously. I am sure it is true. Anyway, he says that hospitals, military hospitals, US military hospitals, are quietly filling with US.
Okay, we can end it right here. Yeah. The picture is this, all right? They are fighting, right? The U.S. military is fighting everywhere. If you don't think that the U.S. military is fighting in Eastern Europe, in the Ukraine, you don't understand what the hell is going on. Okay? The U.S. military was fighting in Vietnam before the 60s. In the late 50s, they were fighting under the auspices of forward advisors. Right? Let's look for that. Forward advisors landed. Right? What is this? Forward advisors. Let's see. Just this is for shits and giggles, right? Because you don't call Vietnam a war, you call it a conflict, right? You use semantics. So, let's see, forward advisors came to the Nam when? Let's see if it's going to answer my question. 63. Okay, see? Now, in order for, by the end of 1962, there were approximately 11,000 military advisors. I said that year, okay, 53. Okay, so when it had, let's see, Military Assistance Advisory Group, Vietnam, 1950. This is just a quick search, okay? President Harry Truman had approved National Security Council Memorandum 64 in March 1950, proclaiming that French Indochina was the key area that could not be allowed to fall to the communists, and that the U.S. would provide support against communist aggression in that area. However, let's see, I need a date here. By 1952, the U.S. would bear roughly 1/3 the cost of the French war, of the war the French were fighting. Okay, and it says the French were defeated and withdrew from Vietnam, passing the torch to U.S. in 64. It says in 64, MAG, Vietnam, would be disbanded and its advisory mission, right, military advisors, and functions integrated into the U.S. Military Assistance Command in 62. So they were there in the 50s, okay, 50 to 64. Date range, it says. U.S. military advisor effort in Vietnam, military assistance advisory group, 1950. Okay, now what am I saying here? Okay, I'm saying that before they officially go in, right, which is going on right now, before this war, so-called war started on October 7th, right? Were there U.S. military already over there? Of course there were. They say that we came into Vietnam, what, 64, 65? But right here, it says we were over there since 1950 under the guise of military advisor. Doesn't mean you're not pulling the trigger. If you're a military advisor with a clipboard in your hand, guess what? Your weapon is strapped across your back anyway. If you're a cook or a truck driver, right, then you're over in Vietnam as an advisor. If you came under fire, what would you do? You'd shoot back. So don't get it twisted. Just because it says under military, they was over there pulling trigger, buddy, because they was getting shot at. All right. So when you go back to today, right? First of all, they've been there. They've been in Syria, right? They were supposed to go into Syria in the early 2000s, part of Wesley Clark's list of countries to go into. Syria was in there. But what happened? They got bogged down. Why? Because Russia came in there and said, no, you're not. All right? So anyway, what do we see? Joel 3 and 2, I will gather the armies of the world in the valley of Joe. That's what we see. What does this say? Intensifying, right? What does that mean? Expanding. It says U.S. military fighting with militias, plural, in the Middle East intensifies, not just Syria, right? Middle East would be the Valley of Yehoshaphat. So we got to send logistics and troops and boots on the ground, right? Well, yeah, we know that because it's right here. All right. Is it going to calm down at all? It's not going to calm down at all. This is how we usually exit the daily update. We go to Revelation 11 and 14 and prove this thing is going to go all the way to the very end, the bitter end, if you will. If my assistant here will assist me. Let's see. Instead of fighting against me. Here we go. In any version, Berean Standard Bible Version of Revelation 11 and 14. It's all the same. The second woe has passed. Woe meaning destruction, or in this case, Second World War. Behold, the third woe, Third World War, is coming shortly. All right, so with that, there's your update. If you want to hear this guy on the Duran, what's his name? Mercutio? I forget, but anyway. If you want to hear the whole thing, it's a few minutes long, so go back and check that out. The Duran, U.S. military fighting with militias in the Middle East intensified, November 14th, which I believe was yesterday. Today is the 14th, so it's 2 hours ago. All right. Alexander Mercutio. With that, we hope that the elector edified you, brothers and sisters. Shalom.